The first named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season is possible this week, and surrounding that, major impacts are likely for some of our area. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. This is your weather world, and I appreciate you choosing Meteo Mundo to be your weather authority. Great to see you on this Monday afternoon. Coming up in this video, we're going to deep dive into this area in the Gulf of Mexico with a high chance of tropical development this week. We could get our first named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. Another one that's going to be impacting the Bahamas and portions of the east coast of the United States. Got a tropical wave bringing some heavy rain to portions of the greater Antilles and the lesser Antilles as well. And some of you still baking. As we get started, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Drop in the comments section below where you're watching from and what the weather has been like. And while you're down there, if you wouldn't mind clicking that like button for me right now. Okay, we're gonna get started with this area in red, the high chance of tropical development here from the National Hurricane Center. 70% chance of development as we move through the week. So we could have our first depression, we could have our first named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. Gonna take the red area off, just a little bit easier to see the data. First of all, here on this infrared imagery, noting that we're having a nice blow up of storms. There's just a little bit of a data glitch there, so I don't want to loop it. See a flare up of storms in the southwest Gulf. There's very little wind shear there right now. There's very little wind overall, but look at all of the moisture that's being fed into that circulation. Again, we have our Central American gyre. It's going to be so active. It's going to be so wet for this entire area. But again, obviously in the shorter term, we want to talk about this trying to get going. When I show you the water vapor imagery here, you can see those blues that are really beginning to kind of swirl into the southwest Gulf. So it does look like within the next 24 to 48 hours, this area is going to try and wrap up and become at least a tropical depression. Now, this is still going to be a fairly sloppy, elongated system. And if you're new to Meteo Mundo, I can actually show you a lot of live data here. So we always like to talk about the here and the now. I can actually show you current conditions from the buoys that are in the Gulf of Mexico, from the ships that are out in the Gulf of Mexico, and even some of the oil platforms as well. So that's the current temperatures, but we're more interested in the winds right now. So these are your wind gusts at the hour, not sustained winds, but we are getting a gust up to 22 on the north side of where that low is trying to wrap up. But again, very little wind here in the far southwest Gulf. Up to a 36-mile-an-hour wind with one of the buoys there in the northwest Gulf of Mexico. Here's an oil platform with a 30-mile-an-hour wind gust. Fairly fresh breeze along the Texas and Louisiana coastline, 31-mile-an-hour wind in the Northwest Caribbean. Even Key West, Florida has a 29-mile-an-hour wind gust. So there's a lot of wind wrapping in on the northern and the western side, the eastern sides of this system. So we're going to get impacts pretty far away, especially into the northwest Gulf of Mexico. And because of that already, a couple of things I wanted to point out here. First of all, for portions of Louisiana and Texas, we have small craft advisories in effect, but for coastal Louisiana, coastal flood advisories are already hoisted up right now. You get into Texas, these become flood watches all the way back down through the Houston area, Corpus Christi, all the way down to the Mexico border. So what I would say is please check in if you live in this area with the National Weather Service offices that service you. But again, flood advisories, some coastal flood advisories, some flood watches are already in effect, and most of those go until at least Thursday. But again, please check in with your local officials. Okay, let me get that data because it takes a lot of computing power to show that. I'm going to get that data off, and then we're going to get into the models, and we're going to look at what's going to be happening here. So we're going to first of all take a look at the GFS rainfall here, the reflectivity. We're going to look at the winds, then I'm going to show you the European model as well. Once again, I'm going to remove this red area just because it's a little bit easier to see the data. How about that? Wow. Do we really want to do this live? You want to do it live? Wow. How about this, guys? Boom, Invest 91L live as I'm recording this. There you go. And I love this system. It gives me that information. You know what? I hope I don't have to stop this recording. I'm not going to stop this recording. You can see what we do here at Meteo Mundo, giving you this real-time information. So we mentioned it. It looked like it, the same area I was talking about. So now you have Invest 91L, all right, which more than likely And again, this is all going to be information from the National Hurricane Center. It's going to become a tropical storm. You can see the TS. If you look close enough there, you can see the TS. And I can look at that, and you can see that the forecast plots are up there. And by the way, the blues are going to be your tropical storm force, your tropical depression winds, okay? So they're talking about this system being very lopsided on the northern and the eastern sides. Notice there's very little wind expected on the southwest side, but this is going to be our first track from Invest 91L. Again, not a tropical depression yet, not a tropical storm, but you can see that from the Hurricane Center, they do have it becoming a tropical storm. Again, this is going to be the plot. Winds are 45 miles an hour there when we kind of take them down to the nearest 5 miles per hour. So here you go, guys. Live at Meteo Mundo, Invest 91L. There's a track. Obviously, the most significant impacts are going to be for portions of Mexico and far southwest Texas, but we do have all of that wind on the northern side. So, love it. Let's see if there's anything else to show you guys here out of this. Here's the models. Again, in real time, I can bring on the tropical models, and we're looking at all of the major models here. And they're very much in line right there going into the far north side of Mexico. But obviously, the wind energy is going to be on the northern side of that. So South Texas has to be paying a lot of attention to that as well. Bring on best track. That's just what has been happening with it there. Okay, love it, guys. There's your real-time information there, our new Invest. So let's get over to what I was going to show you, and that's the GFS model, and we'll loop this up. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm going to get back over to this tropical product, and I'm going to get rid of the forecast wind radii. Just makes it a little bit easier, again, to see. So, again, the GFS model is relatively sloppy with this, all right? And it doesn't even pick up on that center. So the GFS is actually probably underdoing this just a little bit. But I want to note the impacts with the heavier rain, and because it's going to be a southeast wind, some potential coastal flooding for portions of Louisiana, especially west of Louisiana, west of New Orleans, and then all of the Texas and the North Mexico coastlines. So that's going to be the impacts out of this one. You can see it's a very sloppy system, but again, look at what's happening in Central America. Look at the spin. Look at that gyre. Heavy, heavy rain, and we're going to get much more into that coming up. But there you go, guys. Okay, now we can look at the winds. So we are looking at the rain right now. Now we're going to go back over and look at the wind profile. This is going to be a little bit better to show you again where we are. So the GFS model, again, picks up on this. Now it's a little bit farther north with, again, some of that wind, and just letting this run over the next 5 days. So we start here, let's track it. It's just a little too far north overall, but again, I think we're going to see some 30, 35 knot winds along coastal Texas and southwest Louisiana. I think that's absolutely possible here. And you notice, again, there's very little wind on the western center of that circulation, all right? So I'm going to show you the European model coming up here in just 1 second. I might have a little bit better handle on this, especially now that we have a potential closed low. I do want you to note there's another center trying to develop in the Northwest Caribbean. Here's what I can guarantee you. Over the next 7 to 10 days, this is not the only game in town in this area. There's multiple chances for additional tropical development, whether that's just a disturbance or another tropical depression or something even more. This is going to be an extremely active pattern for the Western Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico over the next 7 to 10 days. Let's look at the European model plots. Again, the European model picks up on that low. It kind of dances around a 999,000 millibar low. Again, nothing extremely significant there, but you can see that dancing around over the next few days. And just like the Hurricane Center has, it tries to drive it back into far northern Mexico as we get into Wednesday and early on Thursday. This is the European winds on Wednesday. And again, notice very weak winds where the center of circulation is, and all of the strong winds coming east to southeast are going to be up on the northern and the northwest side of the Gulf of Mexico. These are knots, by the way, but you're looking at 25, 30 knot winds, of course, mainly offshore, but that is an onshore wind, especially for Texas and southwest Louisiana, which is why they have the coastal flood advisories and the flood watches that are currently in effect. I just mentioned this more than likely is not going to be the only center of circulation I'm going to be monitoring for you guys. And I'll show you that coming up because I forgot that I also put in the Atlantic names. So again, Alberto is now forecast to develop in the southwest Gulf of Mexico. We'll see if it happens, but the Hurricane Center has it becoming a tropical storm, and that would be the first named storm. Beryl could potentially be on the heels of that within the just next week, because here's why. There's the first circulation right there, which could be Alberto, okay, spinning around. But guess what? When we look at days 7, 8, 9, here comes another one moving up towards Texas and Louisiana. This is the second potential circulation, and this one could be a little bit stronger. Something I'm going to watch and monitor, but again, more than anything, take away that the one that has trying to develop in the southwest Gulf now is more than likely not going to be the only circulation that I'm going to be tracking in this area over the next 7 to 10 days. And I can show you that on the broad perspective. If I get back out here to the broad area here, if you notice, we had an invest, it's gone away, but what might happen is this could track north right on the heels of this next one, and that's why we would have our secondary system. Again, let me pause it because I don't want that data jump to impact you guys, but I do want to go back over to the model. If I switch over to the GFS model again here, and then I take those wind gusts and I go farther out in time, so I'm going to take this model out a little bit longer in time, and as I'm doing so, if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that like button right now, if you wouldn't mind sharing this with anyone who you think could be impacted by this, I'd appreciate it as well. Again, let's get rid of the forecast wind radii there. Let's get rid of the red. I just have presets on, and every so often I gotta take them off just to make it easier. But the reason why I want to show you this is, as I zoom in later, you're again going to notice now the GFS model, again, I showed you the European model, now the GFS model has 2 areas next week to monitor. This is a secondary one, not this one coming in, but the one again lifting south to monitor. And then the GFS is more aggressive with a center of circulation coming out of the Northwest Caribbean. Really active weather again. So potential additional areas to monitor in the Gulf of Mexico over the next 7 to 10 days. This is a very active pattern. Again, this Central American gyre is going to also bring massive flooding rains to Central America, and we're going to deep dive into that coming up as well, I promise you. But obviously, I wanted to track this for you guys in real time. Now, the other area to watch is going to be this area in yellow for the Bahamas and portions of the southeast United States. Only a 30% chance of development. I'm not nearly concerned about this one, okay? But again, that opportunity is going to be there. A flare-up of showers and storms developing. Eventually, this gets pushed off towards the west. Let's take a look at that when I swing back over to, excuse me just one second, guys. I'm going to swing back over to the GFS model. And again, I'm going to loop this up. It might take me just 1 second here to bring it back down in time. Again, a lot of data I can show you guys here at Meteo Mundo. So we take our time, we get through it. So let me loop this up here over the next several days. And I want you to notice that when I zoom into this area in yellow, you don't end up seeing much here on the GFS. And the European model was about the same. There's not a huge center of circulation that develops. There's 3 good things that should come out of this system. Should be small, should be weak, should be fast moving, and then Bob's your uncle. No big deal. It's obviously going to kick up the surf and sea conditions across the Bahamas and portions of the east coast of the United States. But when I show you the winds out of this as well, and again, this is going to be the same GFS model, and I'll take off that yellow area for you as well. Again, you're just never going to see a big old wrap up here. Yeah, there's going to be some fresher winds here, but if anything, over the last 24 hours as I've been watching this, it's actually even been a little bit on the weaker side. Let's take this model out a couple more days. Let's bring this back out to about the 21st and loop that up a little bit longer in time. So for my friends in Freeport and Nassau, again, fresh easterlies, probably some swells. There it comes. But notice that nothing ever really gets going on the southern side of this. So the Hurricane Center has a 30% chance of development. You know I'm going to be watching that for you guys very, very closely. But I don't think there's much more to talk about here, to be quite honest, at this point in time. There's going to be some wind action, there's going to be some wave action, but the system itself should be small and might be trying to pull a little bit farther off towards the north. But we're going to look at the rain and all that coming up as well. Okay, let's get back over to the broad perspective because, again, I want to talk about the here and the now. We've actually had some pretty good rain in some of our area for today. I do want to start off again in what's happening for our friends through the Yucatan and portions of Central America. It's amazing. We've gone from extreme drought conditions in this area to flash flooding and too much rain in too short of amount of time. And as I've mentioned, that forecast is not going anywhere anytime soon. Cancun, Cozumel, Belize City, San Ignacio, San Pedro Sula, Roatan, all of Central America stuck under this gyre, huge plumes of tropical moisture, wet, wet, wet. It's going to continue that way. Showers and storms developing. By the way, this is your live lightning count within this view, the lightning over the last 15 minutes. Again, I don't want to loop it too much because we had that one little flash frame, and I apologize for that, but you can just see all of the moisture feeding in, even from the Eastern Pacific all the way down to Costa Rica and Panama. For our friends in the Cayman Islands, it continues to be wet. It's wet right now for Georgetown and Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, Cayman Brac as well. We're seeing additional showers trying to get going near Jamaica. Again, it's been a little bit spottier for my friends in Port Antonio and Kingston and Montego Bay and Negril. For today, if you live in this area, again, let me know in the comments section below. We've had at least a few passing showers in this area, an isolated storm, a couple of lightning strikes off to the south. You guys are right on the edge of that richer moisture, which again is so ample in the Northwest Caribbean and on the eastern periphery of that Central American gyre. Good storms today with a tropical wave coming in through portions of Hispaniola. This has been very active for today, even a little bit more active than I expected, but there's a lot of shower and storm activity right now. Puerto Plata, San Diego de los Caballeros, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, Santo Domingo, La Romana, Punta Cana, widespread showers and storms, some heavy rain. All of this is actually developing right over the island and kind of drifting off towards the south. But again, it's widespread. It's even more than I expected, to be quite honest. But what's happening in the short term is this axis of moisture is overcoming the Saharan dust. Now, give it a couple more days and that dust concentration is going to get more deeper and stronger, and we're going to start to undercut some of the rain. But it's been very, very wet through Hispaniola for today. It's been very wet across portions of Puerto Rico and some of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, but especially across Puerto Rico. Look at those storms flare up. Very heavy rainfall there. And again, on Meteo Mundo, I can show you the live radar out of Puerto Rico. So let's pull that on right now. You take a look at the live radar on this Monday afternoon. And again, it's a little bit more spotty in nature right now. We take a look at the different reflectivity tilts here. So again, just looking live, we had a little bit heavier downpours, but again, you can see some of that rain in the eastern tip of the Dominican Republic, scattered showers through portions of the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands as well. Don't see, I believe, at this point in time, any flash flood advisories. I know we had a couple of flood advisories, but no flash flood advisories right now. But scattered showers will continue. Good little downpour near Fajardo right now. And some of you have mentioned how darn hot it's been in this area when you haven't had the rain. So hopefully, if nothing else, you're getting some decent showers and downpours there. That's also been the case through portions of the Lesser Antilles. So we'll take a look at that area right now. Want you to notice over Antigua, we had a good downpour. We actually had a flash flood advisory for the western portions of Antigua earlier this afternoon. There was some spotty but very heavy rain over especially the western portion of the island, but places like Anguilla and St. Martin and Saba going, what about us? We haven't gotten any today. That has been the spotty nature of the showers that have tried to develop. Again, a little bit farther off towards the east, and it's been a little bit drier. There's a little bit more Saharan dust. Now, there is moisture off towards your east that will try and move across the island chain tonight and overnight. But again, it is going to be fighting some of that dust, so the rain chances aren't going to be crazy high for Guadeloupe and Dominica and Martinique and St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines and Grenada. We get a few more showers at the hour for Trinidad and Tobago. Again, going to show you the loop here over the past couple of hours. You can see that lightning develop there, or portions right over Port of Spain, and then portions of South America. Again, a lot of this is getting towards the mainland, and the richest moisture from this tropical wave is through Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and then elongated up to where we're going to have that center of circulation trying to develop. My friends in the ABC Islands, it's been a relatively dry day there. What do you say we take a look real quickly at the heat index across these areas? So your feels like temperatures here, again, well above 100, and we've talked about this basically ad nauseum, guys, where again, feels like numbers at or above 100 in a lot of spots. It's actually been a little bit cooler today through portions of the Lesser Antilles. We'll take that. And again, you can see Negril there, Montego Bay about 102 for the feels like temperature there. So Very active pattern, of course, guys, no doubt about it. So let's get into the 5-day in the areas that I haven't already covered on the tropics here. So going to loop up the 5-day forecast. Again, just going to take me 1 second to get the model set. And if you haven't yet, I will ask and plead again to hit that like button. It really supports the channel. If you've been looking for your daily forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, you have found your home here at Meteo Mundo. Thank you for subscribing right now. So for Central America, it stays wet. We're going to be talking about the opportunity for feet of rain, hundreds and hundreds of millimeters of rain, especially along the Pacific coastline of Central America. Portions of Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua as well. Extremely wet. Belize, Cancun, Cozumel, San Pedro Sula, Roatan could also see inches and inches of rain, 200, 300, 400 millimeters of rain, just over the next 5 to 7 days. So flash flooding and flooding in general is likely. Now, obviously, there's higher terrain in some of these areas, so mudslides, landslides also become something that we have to really closely monitor. I've mentioned it, again, over the last week. With this Central America gyre in place and all this tropical moisture, the rain's going nowhere, guys. It's as simple as that. Rain will continue for portions of the Cayman Islands and for portions of Jamaica as well. Now, again, the GFS model is a little bit drier. Overall, we know the NAM model's been a little bit wetter, and that's how it's basically played out. But you can just see the ample moisture that will stay into play here. For Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, we'll continue to see downpours for the next couple of days, but it will begin to dry out. So higher rain chances the rest of this Monday, Tuesday, and then the shower chances begin to filter out a little bit. The Turks and the Caicos will get in on some of this activity, but you kind of miss the bulk of the moisture either south or as this system wraps up is a little bit farther off towards the north. I expect scattered showers for Cuba, but again, it's the same scenario for Cuba where you're kind of wedged in between the two developing systems, so more scattered in nature than anything else, but certainly there's going to be some opportunities there. And by the end of the period, some of this moisture will drive into the Turks and the Caicos and into the Bahamas. Again, if we're going to get some good rain in portions of the Lesser Antilles, it's the next couple of days and then we'll begin to dry out. Now, it's just not very concentrated, but just like Antigua saw for today, if we catch that heavier shower over certain areas, we could get some localized flash flooding in a snap of a finger. But again, it's not going to be very widespread. So up and down the island chain, Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, all with that 20 to 30% chance for rain starting tomorrow and then into later in the week. Again, I've mentioned it, the tropical waves that are coming in are running into the Saharan dust, and even though those waves look prominent on satellite imagery, by the time they get into the Eastern Caribbean, there's just not as much rain coming out of these here. And again, it's the same thing for the ABC Islands. I've upped your rain chance a little bit, guys, but a fresh tropical easterly breeze will continue there. And then just look at all that moisture through the Caribbean. For the Bahamas, let's take a look at what's going to be happening here. Again, with the GFS model, there's a lot of that rain that misses our area to the north. There is a surge of moisture coming up from the south as well. So overall, rain chances begin to improve mid to late week. Again, it may not necessarily be with that weak center of circulation trying to develop, but just more moisture coming into play as well. I can show you the NAM model real quickly, again, just to show you a little bit of the differences in the two different models, and I'm happy to do that as well. Then we're going to look at your rain chance island by island, and then look at the rain overall across our entire area as well. So on the NAM model, again, this system becomes a little bit more elongated, a little bit sloppier. The NAM has just been kind of a sloppier model in general, not really wrapping things up, but you can see it just drives in that rain a little bit more and then pushes up towards Georgia or the far North Florida coastline. But nothing is ever significant for Freeport or Nassau. And if you notice, I believe they've even shifted this yellow potential development area slightly to the north here over the day. But you get the idea. There's going to be some fresh winds coming in and at least a little bit of rain. But again, fast moving progressive system, not going to sit over one area very long. Just look at this huge spin. It's right in line with all the other models, guys. Just look at that wrapping right around there, man. Man, oh man, oh man. Impressive. And again, not as much rain out towards the east. So there's the NAM model. Look where you live. You're not going to find much of a difference. I'll note Jamaica and I'll note the Cayman Islands. And I've noted this the last several videos. The NAM model's just wetter here. So more downpours for Kingston in Negril and Savannah, Lamar, and Georgetown in general. Okay, island by island, here we go. Northwest Bahamas. Actually, fairly low chances of rain the next couple days. Here comes our weak system, up to a 70% chance on Wednesday. Central and Southeast Bahamas will follow along as well, with decent rain chances by midweek. Turks and Caicos more scattered, but the rain chance will be there. Cuba, about a 50% chance each day. Cayman Islands, Belize City, Cancun, Cozumel, all of Central America. You stay wet, you stay wet, you stay wet. I could absolutely make this 100%. I'll keep it at 90. For Jamaica, it's a 50% chance for showers. And again, you're right on the edge of that moisture. So I think 50% is a good number for you guys. Dominican Republic, probably even higher than the 60% I have for today. Should be in that 50 to 60% range for tomorrow, and then slowly tail off through the week. Puerto Rico will follow suit as well. U.S. and British Virgin Islands, again, when it's not hot, when it's not wet, it's stinking hot out there. So please be cautious of the midday sun. 40% chance for showers the next couple days, 30% here. Our friends in Bermuda, again, a relatively quieter forecast, about a 20 to a 30% chance. Anguilla, rain chances begin to diminish as we get towards Wednesday. Same thing for our friends in Saba. Antigua, Barbuda, decent rain chances the next few days, and then down to a 30% chance on Wednesday. Guadeloupe, we'll see those rain chances fade as well. Barbados, again, kind of wedged in between the deeper moisture, so not as much rain there. Same thing for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Trinidad and Tobago, after a few showers today, and some of that could be some heavier downpours. We're down to isolated chances Tuesday, Wednesday. Even Guyana's rain chances, and it's been pretty wet across that area, will diminish on Tuesday, Wednesday. And the ABC Islands, hey, at least I got you a 20% chance. Let me know if you've seen some of those showers. They're still few and far between. Make sure you're cautious of the heat there. Looking at the wave action that could be kicked up by the tropical activity that I expect. And again, you're going to see some 7 to 9 foot waves coming into the northwest side of the Gulf of Mexico. So we'll monitor the coastal flood issues, any storm surge that might happen there. We're also going to get some fresh waves coming into the eastern side of the Bahamas. You can see all of that green just to the west of Bermuda, but a lot of that coming into, again, the central and the northwest side of the Bahamas. So some long period easterly swells are likely out of that, and a lot of wave action there across portions of the eastern sides of the Pacific. Let's look at rainfall totals. So again, tropical wise, let me just dump some of this data. We'll get rid of the wind radii, just leave that on, that's fine. Now I want to be clear, you're only looking at the next 5 days on the GFS model, okay? So in the model, by the way, on this particular product, maxes out at 14 inches. So I want you to notice that we're looking at 14 inches, which is, let me do the math, 350 millimeters of rain over the next 5 days for portions of coastal Pacific side of Central America, okay? Very, very wet, very, very wet for other areas. Again, it's crazy to talk about here, by the way, Belize, which we couldn't buy a drop of rain for basically months. And now you're looking at, over just the next 5 days, maybe another 100 to 200 millimeters of rain, 4, 5, 6 inches of rain. Very wet for Cancun and Cozumel as well. Again, in this area, you're going to expect a high opportunity for rain each and every day, fresh winds that go along with it. Just so wet in this area. Very heavy rain is possible in the portions of Texas. And again, this is just one model and one model run. But for coastal Texas, even southwest Louisiana, you guys need to be keeping close tabs with what the National Weather Service offices in your area are saying. And of course, I'll keep you updated as well. But for that real-time information, always check in with the NWS offices. I always pass on official information. So again, it's going to be a little bit drier in the GFS model for Jamaica and portions of the Cayman Islands. I just want to show you again all this rain. I'm going to show you the European model, and we'll talk more about that coming up. But again, high rain, very, very exceptional rain there, the Pacific coastline. Up towards the Bahamas, because this system is so fast moving, there's not a lot of rain in any one spot. I think 1 to 3 inches is absolutely possible with this system. And again, we might see that miss us a little bit farther off towards the north. Although, again, there's a surge of tropical moisture coming in from the south as well. And again, portions of Cuba, 2, 3 inches of rain, absolutely possible. Decent rain for the Dominican Republic and Haiti as well, near Port-au-Prince, maybe a little bullseye of over 4 inches of rain. Again, we average this out So we're looking at mainly 2 to 4 inches of rain over the next 5 days, but that's more than I expected, to be quite honest. And again, a lot of that is with just a little bit more activity from this tropical wave. Hey, Vieques, maybe over 2 inches of rain for you in Fajardo, Aguadilla, maybe over 2 inches of rain there as well. Slightly lower amounts for St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix for Road Town. And again, it's more isolated through the Leeward Islands as well, but there could be a couple of spots that pick up more than an inch of rain. And again, we'll favor maybe some of the eastern sides of the island, although again, it was western Antigua earlier today that had that flood warning that was up. Again, Barbados, maybe a ½ inch of rain, but we're not looking at high rainfall totals in this area overall. When I zoom this out, and I'll clear off that data real quickly for you guys. When I zoom this out, it's very clear to see. It's the Gulf of Mexico, it's portions of Central America, it's the Western Caribbean. Here's the European model 7-day rain. Now this is in inches, okay? So I'm trying to bring everyone into play. We're looking at inches, then millimeters are involved as well. So the bottom line is we have some 20-inch rainfall totals plus through portions of the Pacific side of Central America, portions of Guatemala, portions of Honduras, maybe Nicaragua as well. So 20 inches again is what here? 500 plus millimeters of rain, right? More than that? 20, I'm trying to do the math in my head very quickly. For every 4 inches of rain, that's 100 millimeters. That's 500 millimeters of rain when you get to 20 inches. But you notice, do you see down here, I'm gonna take off, you notice the maximum was actually 27. So that's more like 600 and 700 millimeters of rain. Exceptional amount of rain in this area, in an extremely large area too. It's not just a little bullseye. You have so many areas that are forecast to have 4, 6, 8, maybe close to 10 inches of rain in just the next 7 days. So again, if you live in these areas, let me know what you've been experiencing. We've had days and days of heavy rain and at least another week to come. Decent rain across the Greater Antilles and the Lesser Antilles as well, and portions of the Bahamas, but just not nearly as significant as areas out towards the west. So all of that to monitor, and more than likely a named tropical system, the first of the next hurricane season in the Southwest Gulf. My throat is dry. If you would like to help us out, you can follow us through Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video, any business inquiries as well, it is mymediamundo@gmail.com. You have a specific question about the forecast, drop it in the comments section below. I'm happy to answer that. While you're down there again, thank you for liking this video. It really helps to support the channel. And please subscribe if you haven't subscribed as of yet. Friends, have a great rest of your Monday. I'll keep you updated. I'll see you tomorrow right here at Meteo Mundo.